This module is using math and comparison operators. The goal for this module is to look at the various JavaScript operators such as math, assignment, and comparison. We'll also take a look at using the plus sign both with string data types and numeric data types. And we'll talk about use strict and what this actually does in your JavaScript functions. Let's get started. Just like most programming languages, JavaScript also has a large set of mathematical operators. We have addition, represented by the plus sign, subtraction, which is a minus sign or a dash. We have multiplication, which is the asterisk. We have a forward slash, which is division. Exponentiation is 2 asterisks. We have modulus, which is the percent sign. We also have an increment and a decrement. So let's take a look at math operators in a JavaScript function. On line 9, we have a button that calls a function called mathSample. We see that function here on line 14. I've got a couple of variables, price and result. I've set price to be 200. And we're just going to simply perform some math operations and then put it out to the console window. Let's take a look at addition. Addition, of course, is a plus sign. So we're going to take price plus 100, put it into the variable result, and then we'll spit that out to the console.log. Subtraction, we'll do result equals price minus 10, and then we'll put that out to the console. Multiplication, we'll do price times 2. So again, we'll place that into the console. Let's then take a look at division, which is the forward slash, so price divided by 2. We have exponentiation, where we're multiplying price to the power of 2. And then, of course, modulus, so price percent sign 3. Let's take a look at the increment and decrement. So these two are a little different just because where you place the plus plus or the minus minus makes a difference. So line 45, result equals price plus plus. When you put the plus plus after the variable, it takes the value of the variable and assigns it to result and then increments the price. So we will see that in the console.log. And then if you do result equals plus plus price on line 48, what we get there is it increments the variable first and then assigns it to result. The same thing for decrement. If you look down on line 52, result equals price minus minus. It's going to take the value of price and assign it to result first, then decrement the variable price. Let's go ahead and run this and take a look. So you can see all the various addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, exponentiation, and then modulus. And then you can take a look and see what happened with the increment and decrement. So notice result equals price plus plus is equal to 200. When we're spitting out result, remember price was set to 200, so result is 200. But then immediately after, if we print out the value of price, we see that it was incremented after that line to 201. If we then do result equals plus plus price, it now is equal to 202 because it increments price first and then assigns it to result. We can then do the same thing with the minus minus, and we'll see the same exact functionality happening there as well. Let's talk about the plus sign being used with string and numeric data types. Now the plus sign is overloaded. So when you're using the string data type, the plus sign is used to concatenate two strings together. When you're using numeric data types, it is addition. So what happens if one is a number and one is a string? So for example, if we do result equals 100 plus 200, what happens? Well, if one is a string, it's going to do concatenation. So you have to really look at both operands here before you figure out what's really going to happen. So let's take a look at the plus sign. So in this sample, we have a function called plus sign sample that's called from the button on line 9. On line 14, create a variable called price, set it equal to a numeric value 200. We're going to create a variable string value and assign it equal to the string 100. And of course, we'll have a result variable as well. Now, what we're going to do is on line 20, we'll say result equals price plus string value. What JavaScript does is it looks at both sides and figures out are both numeric. In this case, they're not. The string value is data type of string. So it's going to do string concatenation. It will convert price to a string and then concatenate the two together. Now, there's one more trick that we can do here. If you know you have a string value and you wish to convert it to a numeric, line 23, you can see what I've done. Result equals price plus, and then put a plus sign in front of the variable that is the string value. That will convert it to a numeric. Let's go ahead and run this. And we can see the results. The first one performs the string concatenation. The second one, since we converted the string value to a number, performs addition. Just like in C#, there are assignment operators. Now, we know the equal sign assigns one value to another, but we also have this shorthand for doing addition, where if you want to do price equals price plus 5, you can do this shorthand of plus equals. And we can do that for subtraction, multiplication, division, exponentiation, and modulus. So these make it very simple, just a nice little shorthand instead of having to type so much. This gives us a kind of a more efficient way to express these. So let's take a look at a demonstration of these assignment operators. We have a function called assignment sample. I've again created a price variable and set it equal to the value 200. We can now do the addition where we do price plus equals 100, and then we'll spit that value out. We can do a subtraction of price minus equals 100. We can do a multiplication of price times equal to, and a division of price slash equals 2. We can also do the exponentiation and the modulus. So these are just nice little shorthands. Let's go ahead and run this. And we'll take a look at the result, and it is nothing spectacular. It's something we all should just know from basic math. A lot of times in if statements, we need to do some comparisons. So we have all the standard ones you'd come to expect in any language. We have less than, we have less than or equal to, we have greater than, we have greater than or equal to, we have equal in value, and we also have equal in value and type. And this is the one you should use most often when you want to actually do real comparisons. So it's triple equals. We have not equal in value, and we have not equal in value and in type. So let's go ahead and take a look at these various comparison operators. We have a function called comparison sample, where I've set the price equal to 200. And then what we're going to take a look at are all the various ways that we can do comparisons. So on line 21, we're going to actually check to see if price is double equal price. Now, of course, that should come out to be true. But then look at the line 24. I'm going to set result now equal to price.toString. So I'm changing price to a string. When we use the double equals to compare the price, which is a number, to the result, which is a string, this one should come out true because we're using double equals, which just simply checks for value. So what it does is it looks inside and figures out if that string can actually be converted to a numeric and then performs the comparison. Now let's take a look at the next one where I set result equal to price. So what happens is now when I'm using triple equals, it's saying is price and result the same data type and the same value. That should come out to be true. But then look at the next one on line 32 where I again set result equal to price dot toString. So now we're comparing a price, which is a numeric, to a result, which is a string, and we're using triple equals, which means the value part, yes, that's true, but the data type is not. So that one's going to report a false. We then have the same thing for not equal. So on the not equal, we can do a exclamation point equals, and it'll check the value, or we can do an exclamation point double equals, so that gives us the 3, just like the 3 equal signs, but we're using an exclamation point for the not. So if they're not equal in type and value. And of course we have all the rest of them, greater, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. And then of course we have the ternary operator as well. What this says is if the first part of this expression, which in this case is price less than 1500, question mark means take the next piece between the question mark and the colon and report that back. The colon says this is like the else portion. So if price is greater than or equal to 1500, then this part would be spit out, which would be greater than 1500. Let's go ahead and run this. And we can then see the results, which are the same as what we discussed when we were looking at the code. Use strict is a statement that you should always be using. So let's take a look at what it really does. Now, first off, you got to understand that use strict is ignored by any older browsers because it's in quotes here. It's just simply an expression. What we use this for is to force all of our variables to be declared before they are used. So mistyped variable names actually are created globally scoped if you are not using strict. And there are a few other rules as well, which we'll talk about as we go through the demo of use strict. In this function use strict sample, on line 14, I have the use strict. Now remember, you enclose this in single quotes, and that way it's just an expression and older browsers can then ignore it. Now, when you have this set, you can't do things like create a variable without using var or the let or the constant keywords. So line 17 won't work. It'll actually bomb on us. Let's actually take a look. So you can see we get an uncaught reference error, result is not defined. That's because the use strict is on. If we go back and we comment this out, save this, refresh, and run it again, it now works. So the use strict forces us to declare variables, which is always a good practice, as it is in any programming language. Now, as I mentioned, there's a few other rules as well. For example, you can't use reserved words as variables. So eval or arguments. You can't delete a variable, and you can't delete a function when you have use strict in effect. However, if you don't have use strict in effect, you can do all of these things. Again, best practice, always use strict. In this module, we learned to recognize the different operators such as math, assignment, and comparison. We saw the effects of numbers and the string data type when using the plus sign. And very important, we learned that we should always use the use strict expression. This will help keep our applications running at tip-top form. Coming up in the next module, we'll talk about logical operators, truthy and falsy, and we'll see how short circuit evaluation works. I hope you'll join me for the next module.